So here I am in the Discord in a voice call with a couple of good friends of mine, Zawardo and Grim, and we're discussing the best ways to play Spright Synchro, right? And of course, the topic comes around to MANNADIUM being one of the up-and-coming combo decks that is compatible with Spright, and we reached a small debate because they seem to think that their decks at 40 or 45 cards were superior. And I beg to differ. I think this 60 card behemoth, this absolute monster, this legend of a deck, is simply better. And my evidence, we picked it up, we went into the master rank, and we cooked for 6-7 games in a row, something like that. I can't remember the exact number, but we absolutely decimated people with this deck. I think in the entire time I was playing it, I drew one bad hand, and I think it was like double called by Gamma, Carrot, and something else. Every other hand we drew, no matter what combinations of card it was just fucking gas, right? And I feel like these sort of 60 card bands, they get a bad rep. They get a bad rep for being inconsistent. And again, let me preface, this is fully ban list approved, no chaos ruler, no nothing. Again, we're doing this in the interest of the new ban list. And I think this is a really fun way of playing it. Is it the best way of playing it? Maybe, maybe not, who knows? There's no such thing as an objective best way to play anything. But this, it worked, got us a lot of wins, and was an absolute shitload of fun. These Spright plays, again, it's not really like a dedicated Spright deck. The Spright engine is there to help out with certain plays and help enable access to different engines, which is a lot of fun. But the focus is much more on the MANNADIUM cards and the Scarclaw cards, and just the combos you can do is just insane, man. MANNADIUM is nuts, and they are likely going to be taking over, or at least competing with MathMech, as one of the best combo decks in the format after the Dragon Link bans take effect. So again, we're just exploring it now. We're going to be doing a couple of other MANNADIUM lists likely over the next couple of days or even weeks, because I am a huge fan of MANNADIUM. I have been since it came out, and this is the first video where we actually summon MANNADIUM Primeheart. We actually summon this guy, and it actually wins us the game, which was super hype. It's not a part of the final list. It just isn't. But it was a super cool moment, really cool card. I wish it was better than it is. Unfortunately, it's trash, but the deck overall is fire. So I'm not going to waste your time anymore with talking here at the beginning. If you're interested in this style of content, you want to see anything more of it, of course, subscribe to catch it as it's coming out every single day. And you can like this video if you actually enjoy watching this particular one. If you have any MANNADIUM ideas, any mixtures, any stratagems in mind, you can of course leave them in the comments below, or you can hop into our Discord and throw your deck list for your questions, for your answers, anything like that directly in to the MANNADIUM channels. Again, like I said, I'm not going to waste your time anymore here. Let's get right into the replays. Alrighty, so this is going to be a fairly interesting game, right? So we're going against Sword Soul, we resolve Maxi. Usually that's all she wrote, right? So that's fine. We're going to let our opponent decides, fuck it, they're going to try and play through it. So they're going to start playing their cards. They actually perform really fucking well. They have a broken ass Sword Soul hand, so they do. So they're going to go into the Ashuna here, of course, going into their Vishuda. Synchro summoning into the Grand Master. I believe the Grand Master is a pretty solid effect Veeler target, so I decided we're going to Veeler this. Stop him from searching for Emergence, stop him from granting Protos, stop him from whatever. I feel like one of the few things he could do that would shut us down is Protos, right? So he can put up 4 or 5 interruptions, whatever it is. I should be able to play through that thanks to my massive hand. So I'm pretty confident there. So they're going to go into the Druid Berserker here, of course. They're going to keep on playing cards. They're going to grab back the Strategist, discarding a card. Going to use the Strategist now. Going to summon into token. Going to Synchro summon into the level 10 Sinister Sovereign. And this is going to be where they leave their turn after the 1200 burn. They're going to use the Dara to grab back the Ashuna from the Banish Pile as well. So what exactly does this board do? Well, they can banish one of our monsters in response to monster's effect activation. They have a negate, and they have double banish here as well as one unknown card in hand. So let's get into it and let's see what's actually going on. So we're going to start with the Reichphobia. They're going to respond with their Sinister Sovereign, of course. We're going to try to Gamma that Sinister Sovereign, but the Berserker is going to respond to the Gamma. And the way this chain resolves basically is because Gamma doesn't get summoned after being banished by the Berserker, we do not negate Sinister, which means our field spell is unfortunately gone. We're going to go for the Assault Synchro now, just trying to sort of test the waters, seeing where our opponent is willing to put their negates. We start spamming out our level 2s while we've got a chance and while we have no opposition on board. We actually make a pretty huge mistake here, which was totally my bad. They target my red for a negate. I tribute Caligo Clawcrow to negate it. I forgot that with the red's effect, you only pop the other card if you use a rank or link to. So I did this because I thought I was going to be able to destroy the Grandmaster, but I was wrong. So a pretty massive misplay because it does cost us an entire monster on our board, which is pretty sizable. But it's not enough because we're going to go into Cupid Pitch here. Cupid Pitch is going to be summoned out, boosting his level up to 6. We're going to normal summon the Prisma because at this stage we need to have something to try and back ourselves up. We're going to link off the Prisma into the Lightheart after sending Visa Starfrost to grave. That's when they're going to hit us with the Sinister Sovereign. Very interesting choice. Nemesis Corridor then coming out to the field, and you would think that that's going to be going into a Colossus, but you would be dead wrong. We're going to go Visa Starfrost, popping the Corridor to bring out itself so we can summon out the Meek. We're going to pop the Meek with the Riem Heart. We're going to use Riem Heart to get Searching. Calarium's going to bring back the Meek from grave. Meek and grave is going to summon out another Meek from the deck. One of the most powerful and resource-intensive loops for MANNADIUM as a whole. So there's a tuner, and a search. Crazy amount of resource, grabbing a turret from the deck. We're going to now go into the Chaos Angel, which is going to make our Synchro monsters generally very tough to deal with. Banishing the Berserker, going into the MANNADIUM Prime Heart. Prime Heart, of course, inflicting 1000 damage to our opponent. We're going to banish 2 from the graveyard to go into the Vicious Astrolaud. Astrolaud, again, activating on someone, popping another card. So we're banishing, we're popping, we're going in to Baron the Fleur. We're going to use Baron the Fleur's effect. We're going to pop the Grandmaster into the battle phase. 36 from the Prime Heart, 36 again from the Prime Heart, and then 35 from Chaos Angel for game. That is the first and only time I have ever summoned MANNADIUM Prime Heart. It was super hype. I'm just glad that I could finally summon the card. It's not that it's hard to summon, it's that it's never the right time to summon it, right? It just there's always a better monster you could have summoned. In this exact circumstance, because we had all tuners, he was the perfect card to have in our extra deck. And for that exact reason, he's not actually a bad card to have in the extra deck. And I'm going to talk more about that at the end when we're actually doing like the sort of deck profile. We've already done a deck profile on this deck, so it'll not be a full breakdown. But I'm going to talk about that in particular at the end of the video, so we get a little bit more insight on that. But in the meantime, let's get into another replay. Alrighty, getting into our second replay here, this time against a 60-card branded pile. We're going to start with Labellon here, grabbing the Drissworm directly from our deck. We're going to normal summon out the Prisma, revealing Astrolaud, sending Visa Starfrost, becoming Visa Starfrost, or we would if we didn't get negated by Infinite Impermanence. So that is a pretty sizable hit there, honestly. That does quite hurt my damn feelings. So what we're going to do instead, we're going to go Abscission here, popping the Prisma to grab the Peaceful Planet Calarium. We're going to use Calarium now to search our deck for a monster, but we're going to get hit with another hand trap. So that does make life pretty awkward. We're going to need to find a way to sort of play around this. We do have a couple of Bestials in hand, which does grant us some opportunity. We're going to banish the Prisma, summon the Magnamut. We're going to use the Magnamut's effect. Then we're going to tribute off the Magnamut for the Bestial Lubellion here. Now, the Bestial Lubellion is going to grab the Branded Regain directly from deck. We're going to go Drissworm, banishing the Visa Starfrost, summoning it out to the field. Branded Regain, drawing us an additional card, another Droll, unfortunately. Grabbing a Baldrake here, and our opponent realized what my plan was. So basically what we have on this board, it doesn't look like much, but we actually have double interruptions. So what we're going to do is at some point during the turn, we're going to summon the Baldrake by banishing a card either from my graveyard or from theirs. We know they're playing branded, so they're going to put something in grave that we can banish, right? That's easy. So once they do, it then puts them in a position where if they were to attempt to summon from the extra deck, we can tribute off the Drissworm to banish whatever monster they summon, and then the Drissworm's effect will activate on a separate chain to send to the graveyard anything that they attempt to summon out afterwards, or something else that they already have on the field. So this is actually a couple of decent interruptions. Plus we also have Droll here, Regain, for some pretty crazy advantage during our opponent's turn. So this is, all things considered, still pretty decent, and the Bestials still carrying their own weight, and our opponent kind of sort of figured what we were up to, and they decided they wanted none of it. So not very interactive game from our opponent, but it just shows that the Bestial side of things still has an impact. It's not just raw MANNADIUM Scareclaw, and these cards do have a place. Now, again, it's replays like this to sort of make you think whether or not it's worth including them over just making the deck smaller, right? So I was pretty keen on playing a 60-card pile at the time. You could make an argument or a claim that the Bestials aren't in the greatest place in this deck in particular. They were definitely when Chaos Ruler was around. The absence of Chaos Ruler is making me reconsider the Bestials to some extent, but in this particular session for gameplay, I just wanted to prove a point that 60 cards was not only viable, but potentially even better than a 45-card version. But again, it's up to you. I wanted to show off at least one game sort of dedicated around the Bestials for that exact reason, showing that they're not dead, they are still useful, you still have plays, and they help you play sort of 3 interruptions and make sure you have a board to work with or some resources to work with. But again, that's not for everybody. If you want to cut the deck down in size, we're going to talk about this again at the end of the video, like we do normally. Let's get into another replay. Alright, replay number 3 here. Double copies of a hero lives in hand. That means we're protected against Ash Blossom, at least in this instance. We're going to go for Prisma from the deck. Prisma, once again, one of the best starters in the entire deck. Prisma's fucking nuts. Prisma going into the Lightheart is just one of the craziest plays in this whole deck, especially off of a hero lives. So now we've got the Primitive Planet. We're going to use the Primitive Planet to grab ourselves a Starfrost, because we already have Rykart. That's totally fine. Rykart grabbing us a Rival. We're going to use a Rival now to bring back the Starfrost from our grave. I really fancy an early Baron here, just to protect myself from the Biru, because I plan on fucking comboing a lot. We're going to go for the... now this, you could argue that right there was potentially a mistake. We might have... It's possible that we should have popped the Meek. Our overall card advantage wouldn't have changed though, so it's not a massive issue. We're going to use these two now to go into Cross Sheep. Now, we're going to banish 2 from grave. We're going to summon out the Vicious Astrolabe from the graveyard in our Cross Sheep zone. Cross Sheep then bringing back a level 4 from grave. We're going to use the Assault Synchron. Assault Synchron and our level 4 going into the Tri-Edge Master. Tri-Edge Master drawing us an extra card. We're going to go for Turret here. Turret plus our Tri-Edge Master into the Axel Synchro Stardust Dragon. Bringing back our Meek yet again before Synchro summoning into the Bestial Dispatter. Now we're going to use these two to go into Spright Elf. We're going to now use our Bestial Dispatter to bring back the Rykart, a Dark Monster. So now we can Synchro summon into a full power Chaos Angel. Now we got the Dispatter, we've got the Baron, we've got the Chaos Angel. We bring back a Meek and pop the Meek just so I can have a level 4 one on board for next turn, just in case that's useful. But basically we have a Baron, of course. We have the Bestial Dispatter. These cards aren't protected by Elf right now, which could maybe have been prevented by some smarter forward thinking, but ultimately again it doesn't make a massive difference because they're still protected for the most part by Chaos Angel, making them unaffected by activated monster effects and indestructible by battle. That indestructible by battle thing actually backfires on us here in this game. So we're going to go for the Bestial Dispatter here. We're going to bring destroy that circular by shuffling back our Visa Starfrost. I thought to myself, that's going to put a massive dent in MathMech's ability to play the game, but then I forgot that this is MathMech, and MathMech's ability to play the game is infinite, as per our previous video. I'm a huge advocate for MathMech. I think this deck is crazy strong. I think the deck is underrated, and that's not to say that people don't value it. It's just that it's that strong that I think, despite what people think of it and the power they acknowledge, it's even better than what people think. So we're going to pop the Codec because I don't fancy him going into a bajillion extenders. They're going to go Splash Mage here, Splash Mage, bringing back the Circular, linking off Circular in the Link Decoder, and then we sort of realize that there's not one single card I can pop here that's going to prevent this combo from happening. Into the Transcode, bringing back the Link Decoder, using Transcode's effect to bring back Splash Mage from the graveyard, linking off into the Protect Code Talker, using the Protect Code Talker and their one-off, they go into the Code Talker Inverted. Very interesting line from our opponent here, but Inverted's going to bring out Multiplication. It was all part of the plan. Multiplication and hand means they're going to double up the attack points of Firewall, sending a monster from their deck / extra deck to the graveyard in order to boost up its attack points by 2,500, and the Protect Code Talker protecting it from destruction as well as targeting. So they're going to boost up to 5,400, then they're going to boost up to 10,800, swinging over our Spright Elf for 9,400 damage. So we cooked like crazy on that turn. We had a pretty sizable board. This was by no means an easy game for them to win, but MathMech's just that deck. They're just that good. So it doesn't matter how hard you cook sometimes, it doesn't matter how hectic the kitchen gets, sometimes someone is just going to beat your ass. Into the next game. Alrighty, into our 4th and final replay here. We're going to be going first, activating our Rykphobia, grabbing the Visa Starfrost. We're going to normal summon the Rykheart. We're going to use its effect to get Searching, or we would if we weren't hit by the Ash Blossom. Now, Ash on Rykheart kind of sucks, but it's not like the worst thing in the world. The Arrival's nice, but it's definitely not key. We're going to special summon out the Meek. We're going to pop the Meek using the Visa Starfrost. Small mistake there. Definitely should have used Calarium first. Minor mishap for me, but it's fine. We can still bring it back later on by grabbing the Radium Heart off the field spell. We are going to go Baron to protect ourselves from any additional hand traps or a nib or anything like that. We're going to pop the Meek to summon the Radium Heart. We're going to use the field spell to bring back the Meek. Radium Heart gets Searching, and Meek gets summoning another Meek from the deck. Again, one of the best possible loops you can do in MANNADIUM. The Imperm is going to put a slight dampener on things by stopping one of our searches, but ultimately, that's not worth the Baron they get. I would rather have the Baron live later on. We are going to bring back our tuners here. We're going to go into Synchro 8, the Stardust Dragon. Using the Stardust Dragon, bringing back a Meek from the graveyard. We're now going to go into the Bestial Dispatter. Now, we're going to banish 2 from grave. Going into the Astrolabe early like this was kind of painful. I really didn't want to do it, but we didn't have much of a choice. We're going to bring back Visa Starfrost, linking 2 off in the Cross Sheep, and then we're going to link 2 more off into the Spright Elf, summoning it so it is at the very least protecting the Baron de Fleur, bringing back the the MANNADIUM Meek from the graveyard. So again, not exactly the greatest turn. We hit with 2 hand traps. We're playing through 2 hand traps, but again, it's a point where we're at the point where we've got Bestial Dispatter, Baron de Fleur, Droll in hand, and Spright Elf after playing through an Ash and an Imperm. Like, that's really fucking good. A lot of decks in this format, especially combo decks, die to Ash Imperm, right? A lot of decks in general just fucking die to Ash Imperm. So, you know, it's not that bad to have that many fucking interruptions and a board this sizable. They're going to go for Grimness right off the bat here. I've seen a bit of a resurgence in Spright Gishki recently, but I don't know why, because every time I go against them, I ruin their damn day by doing exactly this bullshit. So, I don't know why people are playing it all of a sudden, but they are. We're going to go Prisma here from the deck. We're going to tag out our Baron for the Axel Synchro Stardust Dragon, being met by the Aqua Mirror, and their Mana's then coming out to the field, which is very interesting. We're going to go straight back in the Baron though, so it literally doesn't even matter. We're going to normal summon the Prisma so we can go into the Tri-Edge Master, drawing us an extra card, drawing into Obsidian, Spright Elf, then bring it back a Meek. We're going to use then the Obsidian to pop the Meek to grab ourselves the Reframing, because it's the only useful card left. Calarium then is going to bring back the Meek. We don't have any Meeks left in deck, so we couldn't do very much else with it, but we're able to bring back the Rheum Heart from the deck, grabbing Torrid as well. We're now going to use these 2 in a Synchro Summon for a light-only Chaos Angel, banishing the Nirmanas. He can activate its effect to attempt to negate us. It literally doesn't matter because we're unaffected by activated effects. That includes negates, so you're done out of here. 35 to the face, 35 to the face, and Baron 3k for lethal. It's just that easy. Again, setting up a pretty sizable board and setting up a few interruptions and some targeting protection, even through a number of hand traps, is normally where a lot of combo decks sort of fall flat. Like where, for example, a lot of the times, a lot of the rogue combo decks, you just hit them with an Ash at the wrong time and they're done, right? If you Imperm their starter, they're done. Whereas this deck can actually play through quite a number of interruptions, and the main reason for that is how many of our card effects activate in hand and grave rather than on board. Only really our boss monsters have notable effects on board, other than like Rheum Heart and Reichardt. The rest of our monsters gain their value in the hand and in the graveyard, not on the field. So that means that you're not quite as susceptible to most common forms of interruption. You do lose kind of particularly hard to Max C, and Ash Blossom definitely hurts you, but it doesn't shut you down nearly as hard as it does many other decks. So you take it with a pinch of salt, do what you want, think what you want. Again, that's just my thoughts on it. Let's bring up the actual deck list and we'll talk about it together and talk about some of the options when it comes to building. So here's the list. Now again, this is basically the exact same list that we covered off in our previous video, so I'm not going to be doing a card for card in this one. Instead, at the end, I'll be linking our previous one above. So if you want that, stick around and that'll pop up on the screen here towards the end of the video. What I do want to talk about in this one is some of the changes that you can make now that Chaos Ruler isn't around anymore, as well as some additional extra deck choices and options and some of the decisions that we made. So let's start off. First and foremost, do you have to play it at 60 cards? No, you don't. I did it as a joke in the Discord and it worked out really well, and I really enjoy playing it at 60 because you have so much room for so many tools that you can really go pretty nuts, right? So the Bestial cards, I think, will be some of the first to go. The reason being, the Bestial cards were really good in combination with 2 core engines. They were really good in combination with the Necro Shinobi and Spright Sprint. These 2 cards in particular made the Bestials much more powerful because, as well as Chaos Ruler, of course, right? Because Chaos Ruler, milling a Shinobi Necro, or having Shinobi Necro in hand to be discarded, or sending Shinobi Necro from deck to graveyard off of Sprint, and then being able to banish it to resummon your Chaos Ruler, or to summon from hand a Bestial, meant that you were able to go into level 8 and level 10 synchros even more often than what you already were, which was basically all the time. So in the past, you were guaranteed like 3 to 4 level 10 synchros every single time, and a large part of that was Chaos Ruler and Shinobi Necro, right? So now the Chaos Ruler is gone. I'm going to be perfectly honest, there's not nearly enough value to justify playing the Shinobi Necro, right? And because we're not playing Shinobi Necro, there's not enough value to justify the sprint. And because of that, Bystials are really good, and you saw in the gameplay how they won us an entire game, and they're decent combo starters. They work alongside all your other level 2 starters and your level 2 tuners, so they are still good and still usable, and you can absolutely still play them. However, you could totally cut the Bystials if you wanted to get closer to closer to 40 cards. I don't think playing at a 40 is good. I think if you play at a 40, you're leaving too many holes in your deck, but playing it closer to 45 to 50, I think is probably the way you want to go. So you could cut down the Bystial engine just completely, and automatically you're at 53. Just like that, you're at 53. And from there, again, you can decide to cut more down. Another thing is the Cupid pitch engine is kind of why you're playing Spright MANNADIUM. So this is a Spright MANNADIUM video, so we're not going to talk about cutting that, because that's kind of the whole point of playing Spright. If you did want to play Cupid Pitch and didn't want to play Colossus and Nemesis Corridor and all of those types of things, then you just don't play Spright. Just don't play Spright. Just play regular MANNADIUM. What the fuck are you doing? If you're here for Spright MANNADIUM, then no, you're playing Cupid Pitch. You're playing Nemesis Corridor, as well as the Calico Clawcrow being a really useful tool as well for that particular toolkit. Because we're working our deck down closer to 60 cards, you can maybe reduce slightly our level 2 engine. So you could maybe cut a carrot, bring it closer to the 50. That's all good. You can play your field spells at different ratios. I really like 3 Calarium. A lot of people really hate this for some reason. They play 1 Calarium. I think these are fucking nut jobs, but again, it's an option. Y'all can go nuts if you really want to. I think 3 Calarium is the way, though. You can play 2 Obsidian, but again, I think Obsidian's just fucking crazy. Yeah, so I think if you wanted to cut the Bystials, you totally could. In terms of the extra deck, the other major sort of change to the extra deck is I actually, like, the more I play it, the more I legitimately think Primeheart has a place in this deck. And the reason this has a place in this deck, and it is one reason only, it is the fact that it does not need a non-tuner. That is the only reason I like this card. I think the art is sick. I think the effect is kind of cool. I think it being untargetable and 3k attack, multiple attacks, neat. It can round out a game. It'll be a decent board breaking tool, whatever, right? But the reason I really like this card and the reason I really want to include it is because of its summoning requirements. Does not need a non-tuner. That is so much more versatile than most other synchros. So that reason and that reason alone is enough to consider playing this card. It really is. And it's not as if you don't have room, because we're not playing Shinobi Necro. That means we're not playing Sprint. That means we're not playing the Salamangreat Almarosh. That means we have room for cards. We're not playing Chaos Ruler. We lost Chaos Ruler too. There's 3 cards in your extra deck gone. So that opens up the doors. You can play, what I'd said at the sub in was Masquerena, Avramax, and Goddess. That's what I subbed in. Drop Avramax, play Primeheart. Easy as that. Easiest fucking sub in the world. You prefer Avramax over Apollousa? Drop Apollousa, play Avramax. If there's any particular card, UR card that you don't have, just sub in Primeheart. It's that easy. Like, the extra deck isn't ridiculously tight. Certainly not as tight as it was with the Chaos Ruler. And there's a lot of different cards you could include. And I think that this is one of the key points where you need to sort of look at it and weigh up your priorities, weigh up what cards you have, weigh up where you're realistically think you're going to be going into these types of things. I think Chaos Ruler, Apollousa, is a little bit of a stretch with this deck built the way it is currently built. You don't have quite as much extension as what you did before. So Apollousa is not quite as easy to get out, at least not with a significant number of materials. Like a 1600 attack Apollousa is fucking worthless. So if you want to get a decent enough Apollousa out, you really are sacrificing quite a lot. So I would prefer to play Avramax. But that choice is yours. Or you could play both if you really just don't want to play Primeheart. But I think Primeheart's summoning conditions by themselves open up a lot of doors and can deal with a lot of really bricky fields or like flooded fields filled with tuners, because you play a fuckload of tuners. Yeah, I think Primeheart definitely holds a place in the deck, unironically, which is good. It's about time this card is playable. But that's pretty much all the observations I have on the deck in light of the recent ban list changes and in light of what is going to happen going forward. Am I going to continue to play the deck at 60? Bet your fucking ass I am. I'm going to continue playing Bystials, I'm going to continue playing it at 60, and I'm going to continue winning fucking games. You guys can do the same if you want. You can change it if you want. That is entirely up to you. I've said everything I need to say. If you want the card for card breakdown of the original list, you can look above my head right now to catch the card, or you can check out some of our other videos over there and down here as well if you want to check out some more recent content or some of the content more relevant to you. But either way, I've said enough. Like the video if you enjoyed watching, subscribe if you haven't already subscribed, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.